maybe you should be fearful of something. The title of this episode is Fear versus Fearlessness, using data to drive your destiny. Now, that was a mouthful. On this particular episode, Terrence Chappell, who is the principal of Chappell Communications Group, joined Andréa and I to talk about what's it like to utilize fear as a data point or not as a data point in driving your own destiny. And just as a bit recap, Terrence and I know each other, so there's lots of banter. Andréa played the wonderful interviewer this time, and there were so many things we touched on, from using data to talking about how one has used it within their lives, and this is a lot. So we're recapping it. Andréa, what you got?
Yeah, we had a lot of laughs on this one. I really appreciated just the energy on this particular episode. Let's go ahead and jump into the first takeaway. So the first takeaway really was using fear as information, which you hinted towards, relating to using data to drive your destiny, right? I never really thought about fear as information. You kind of go through life and you form your identity, but the things that you're really good at and the things that you shy away from, right? So I especially liked him framing it up, in that manner, as we think of ourselves as beings that are constantly evolving, beings that are met with challenges in life. I thought that was a really cool way to really wrap it up and make it really easy to understand.
No, and not to give too much away from the episode, but Terrence said something that he was like, maybe you should be fearful of something. So like you said, using fear as a data point. So, so that part really stuck out with me, and I totally agree with you. What else?
So the second thing that I wanted to jump through, which I wish we had more time, and we probably, we've been receiving some feedback around how we may potentially consider lengthening these episodes, because we didn't really get very deep on one particular topic that I thought that was really important. It is around trusting yourself, right? And basically the difference between operating from a place of fear versus operating from a place of faith and purpose, right? The second part, the latter, really hinges on you trusting yourself, right? And, sometimes when you are met with challenges in life, you start to second guess yourself, right? But that goes back to what we talked about in a previous episode, which was self-awareness, right? So I don't know if that resonated with you, but that's one thing that I wish that we had an opportunity to talk a little bit more. Trusting yourself, talking about trusting yourself and learning to leverage that identity to push through the fearful moments.
No, I think that's a really good point that we can always talk about in the later episode. So stay tuned. We'll keep that in mind, but definitely agree that, as I think trust is almost a hindsight is 2020 type situation. And it's like, had I just trusted myself, had I just gone with my gut, then this would have happened. I think we live in a society where we're almost challenged to trust ourselves and go against our better nature. So very much agree with you on the second takeaway. And what's your third and final one?
Well, my third takeaway is really about the ownership and the power that we have in interrupting or disrupting conflict. The example that Terrence gave of you when you both worked together at an agency whose name I will not mention, right? How you were almost like that, not that traffic cop, but you were kind of like setting the tone in meetings. So if you can talk a little bit about some of the tools that you use to reset or interrupt conflict when you see it, whether it's in the workplace or among friends, I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, and I think as we talk about, and clearly is in the very first word in the title of our show, disrupt, is disruption doesn't always have to be a bad thing. As we talk about it as a negative, but sometimes you have to disrupt the chaos, and that's where it's come to, like, playing that traffic cop, to use the words that Andréa just used. So one thing I think is important for me when I am navigating spaces where it is not efficient, it's not fruitful, it's not productive, is just take a stop, take a beat. I think we might even talked about that in our first podcast, honestly. It's just like, take a beat, take a stop. It really is really important for a person to assess the situation, to even figure out how to move forward. I think another thing that's important, and I'd even say this is actually probably even before, if take a beat is 1B, 1A really is to assess, like, is this normal? Is this helpful? Is this fruitful? Because so many of us navigate in chaos that we think it's normal. But once you recognize, like, okay, this isn't being efficient, nothing's getting solved, same things continue to go on, then that is when, okay, like, you're like, this is what I need to do. I need to disrupt this chaos, play traffic, how to stop it. And that's the important part. And that goes back to using data. So just to go back to key list is using data to assess what's going on, and then trusting yourself.
Yeah. And not being afraid to lead, which is another thing that he mentioned for sure. But surprise, surprise, I have a bonus one that I would want to share. I know we kind of agreed on a couple of takeaways, but this bonus takeaway is dedicated to your mom, because I know we had an emotional moment on the podcast where you were talking about some of the gems that your mom has left you with. So this particular takeaway is about finding good people and finding community, right? We all need each other. So I want to dedicate this particular takeaway to your mom. We all need each other. Find your good. Some people call it, your personal board of directors. Some people call it I think you call it your tribe. I tend to call it my tribe as well. But find community. Find people that have qualities that you admire. Find people that you feel that you have qualities that you can be in service of them, and really take stock of that from time to time. And it's okay if that tribe or that community sort of switches in and switches out, because life be life in, right? But yes, find really good people and keep them around.
So true. Thank you. That was thank you. Yeah, community is key. Community is what keeps you going. Community is what keeps you uplifted and driven. And yeah, so I like those takeaways.
Yeah, I think they were quick and easy. So with that,
wait, what was it again? Sorry, you all will learn. I'm like a parent. So first one is use the data. Use data.
Use that as information. The second one is trust yourself, right? And remember to be self-aware. The third one is redirect and interrupt conflict. And then the final one is find your community, find your tribe, and lean into them.
Love it. Love it. Well, folks, thank you all for joining the recap. If you haven't already, subscribe, comment, like, word of mouth, share, smoke signal, whatever you need to do.
Tell a friend about the podcast, because we're trying to get our viewers and subscribers up. So tell somebody that you care about this amazing podcast.
All right. Well, from your friends at Disrupt, Delete, Reset, thank you. And we'll see you later.
See ya. Have an above average rest of the week.